Our next speaker is Prof. Les Underhill from the University of Cape Town, looking at ecotourism in parallel with agriculture. Thank you, Prof.
Right, good morning, team. So now we're going to, from the big picture to the smallest possible picture. This is a bit like going from the elephant to the right nostril of the elephant. So from looking at the country as a whole, we're looking at one particular farm. So PC Ferreira at the back is a farmer, and I am by training a statistician, so you won't see much statistics here this morning. So this is where we are, exactly halfway between Cape Town and Johannesburg, Khoisan Karoo Conservancy. The farm is called New Home, so I'll be using these terms interchangeably. So this is a rough road map of where we're going in the next 12 minutes or so. Sheep farm in the Karoo, what we've got going, some of the things that PC in particular has in mind, and we also talk a little bit about what hopefully some of you can do to get involved. Reminder: it's a sheep farm with a nice countryside in context, and I think this is true of a great deal of places within South Africa. So the people you have to watch, or the people that I'm particularly grateful for, is the guy standing on the wall, John Blanco, and the guy helping PC put up the sign on the left, Josu Melendez, and they were Basque interns, Spanish interns on the farm for the last 6 months, and they gathered a lot of the information that got us going, got us started. So one of the things they did was, whenever PC did a Shy 5 night drive, they were on the game viewer we saw at the start, and PC, when he's driving, spotlighting and talking, he can't gather data. So these guys collected the species that they saw every night, the positions that they saw them, how far off the road they saw them, so we can do distance sampling and estimate the numbers, or the densities of each of the species. That's 4 of the Shy 5. They did 43 Shy 5 night drives, and you can guess how many, what proportion of the night drives saw each of those 4 species. So the lowest, 47% of night drives saw aardvark. And you've got to remind yourself that you're not in a nature reserve, you're on an old-fashioned sheep farm. So another thing that John and Josu did was they did waterbird counts on the New Home Dam on the property. So I had to put some birds in there for them to count. You can ignore the Egyptian geese, and you can ignore the spoonbills. So the next slide does the white-breasted cormorants, and there's a scattering of little stints feeding up in preparation for migration in the front. So the dam is about 10 hectares, built 1946, 110 hectares, about 10 kilometers in perimeter, and they took their canoes and they paddled around the edge. This is just 2 of the results, weekly counts. I don't think anybody has done weekly counts of waterbirds in the country. And you can see the arrival of little stints, and they must have been fattening up for departure, and they all left at the beginning of May. And that's a sort of expected result. The white-breasted cormorant result, an increase in numbers from about May, is something that we didn't expect and weren't aware of. This slide is supposed to say dung beetles, but it got left off. So we started a bit of a dung beetle project, but we left it too late and it was just too wet an autumn, and they didn't come back. So that's Ryan Tippett, and Ryan is an expert on dragonflies and all sorts of other things, and he's helped with this little information guide to the dragonflies and damselflies. Right now, at Khoisan Karoo Conservancy, there's a bird ringing course on the go, led by Ditta O'Shadlius. And one of the things this country lacks is a permanent bird ringing station. Best tool that we have for long-term monitoring of things like survival and movements and changes in these things through time. So yesterday morning they were ringing on the side of the dam. One of the birds they caught was this little stint, and you can see same little stint has left. You can see it's still got a bit of breeding plumage on it, and all that information that comes from knowledge that we know about the little stint, its routes, migration, timing of primary molt and things like that. That all comes out of citizen science projects from bird ringing. We've also used the bird atlas to help monitor a bird population. So we've chosen bird atlas works on grid cells called pentads, 5 minutes by 5 minutes. And there's rather little systematic field work within that project, even though it's gone on for so long. And we're actually now trying to do some systematic atlasing that we can really sort of look at changes in bird distributions through time. And I've tried to think of some of the things that actually this research has actually contributes to PC's financial bottom line. And the data from the night drive is certainly marketing information. And we're creating something of a birding hub that lots of people will come to. And bottom line there is that appropriately chosen research projects do definitely increase occupancy. So there are two visions that are in the starting blocks. One is a Sikhoi River Conservancy. The idea of this area becoming part of the expanded nature reserve system was an idea that was on the cards, but it's now been scrapped. Food security is a priority, and it would create a very good biodiversity corridor from the escarpment into the interior at the Underhill Dam. Second thing is the Karoo Oasis route, and this is an idea of Northern Cape Tourism Authority. It includes some Karoo towns that are really quite dismal, as you see from the pictures, and how we're going to do tourism there. So PC is chairman of the committee, and he's got problems. And PC, it's over to you to tell us what your ideas of the problems are.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Les. I'm just going to take a minute. I don't think Hanover and the 16 small Karoo towns we're working with is a lot different than any other town in South Africa. If you're a tourist or if you're a chairperson of the Karoo Oasis route and you'd like to convince people to drive into small Karoo towns and spend their money there, the first thing, if you stop in these towns, there will be 5 or 10 small children running to your car to beg. There will be plastic bags and litter all over the show. And that night, you might not have water or electricity. So this is quite far from tourism or from conservation, but in essence, it's all one big thing. We need the tourism, we need the money to build the society. So this, I think that's the biggest challenges we have with bringing tourism to small rural towns, and the challenge will be how to sort that out to bring more people into those areas to come and spend their money there.
Thanks, PC. So now you know who PC is, my co-presenter. So some of the things we have in mind, there are I've divided them into 3 categories: the natural science opportunities, the project we started, and there's lots more things that we could do, which actually relate either to the farming or to the potential for ecotourism. And then there's a whole host of things which fall under a social sciences heading: the Conservancy, the Oasis route, and addressing the whole issue of rural poverty that PC touched on there. And then there's the actual analysis of what actually happens from an economic perspective doing these things. And then finally, I've got a slide which says, how can you be part of this? And we have the facility to host students there. So if you're a student or a supervisor, we're in the market for helping you, and you come and you talk to PC or myself. It's a place where you can get yourself trained as a bird ringer. You could become the resident bird ringer and help us set up this permanent ringing station. And New Home is fantastic. If you drive between Cape Town and Gauteng or vice versa, then do spend a night or 2 there and experience these things for yourself. If you need to see an aardvark or an aardwolf, that's where to go. I met somebody recently, and he told me he lived in Hopetown, and I assumed that he'd retired to Hopetown, and I assumed that he was a farmer who'd retired into town. And he said, no, I retired from Johannesburg, and I bought myself a property in Hopetown. And I think that's something that's one of the 17 towns in the Karoo Oasis route. So that's probably a bit tongue-in-cheek, but it certainly is the way to turn some of these places into the equivalent of Greyton in the Western Cape, which is a rural town that's been rescued from poverty by people coming to retire there. So thank you. That's what I needed to say. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Prof. We've got plenty of time for some questions for you and for PC. Anybody? Peter Mills.
Thanks. My wife and I travel through the Karoo a lot because we love the area. And what we have discovered over the past few years that some of those little towns are actually improving, and they are cleaning up their act, and they are very nice destinations to go to in the little Karoo towns. So it's not all that bad, and I think it's improving.
Yes, yeah. I would agree with you. So PC and his gang are making a difference.
Prof. Riley next door there.
Yeah.
Les, you're also talking to landowners in the Karoo when you're down there every year. We've had the Black-Footed Cat project running in the Karoo, and being down there every year and speaking to landowners, some of the landowners that I know very well wouldn't make it if it wasn't for the hunting. The 6 or 8 groups that come down every year to hunt increasing springbok populations at 40 Rand a kilogram brings in as much as an extra $500,000 a year for a landowner, which kind of makes things look a lot better financially as opposed to sheep farming only and a more sustainable sheep farming. So the farm in particular, I'm talking about 10,000 hectares, and their sheep numbers are down from 10,000 in the 60s and 70s to 3,000 sheep now. And the hunting groups that come down that, spend fuel to go down there, fill up their tanks in the Karoo towns and buy their provisions and all the rest of it is certainly become a key part of the survival of farmers in the Karoo.
Yes, well, PC's in that game as well. So there's the lodge is used as accommodation for hunters.
Morning, Dick Hofmeyer, proud Karoo inhabitant. I was fortunate to see Madikwe Game Reserve in the last sort of end of the last century go from zero to hero to what it is now. I mean, the place as it is now was at one point too far to drive. Now it has regular flights. I just want to say that I love seeing stuff like this. because it's similar to what we're trying to achieve in our little section, which is in the Eastern Cape Karoo side, Nama Karoo side. And since December 2019, when I've been in there, let me tell you, and let me tell everybody here, that is the next wildlife bioeconomy, biodiversity economy hotspot of the country, that Karoo area. The potential there is insane. And I mean, just the rainfall gradients north to south, the biodiversity that could be protected there, it needs work, needs lots of work. But it excites me beyond words. I mean, I got there and I see these little Noosveld plants and I'm thinking, what is this thing? Now I cheer them on when they flower. I say, come on guys, we can do it, we can do it. So very exciting, thank you.
Yeah, I want to say I feel a little bit arrogant, talking about this one isolated, left nostril of the elephant, because this has been replicated over and over again. And I thought it was just a nice idea to air this particular one, but not claiming that it is the only one. It's just one of many. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks.